Good morning, America. Breaking overnight. New developments in the manhunt for the suspect who opened fire on the campus of Brown University. A person now in custody.
The unthinkable has happened here in Rhode Island.
At least 2 people killed and 9 injured. New video showing the suspect dressed in black leaving the building.
The gunman's rampage taking place inside the school's engineering and physics building. Frantic students getting messages to run, hide, and fight, barricading themselves in classrooms.
We decided to turn the light off and close all the doors and hide under our desks.
Receiving conflicting alerts that a suspect was in custody, later retracted. The campus put on lockdown, students told to shelter in place.
The Rhode Island campus now an active crime scene.
We have shared the image of the individual we believe to be the shooter.
Hundreds of officers swarming the streets, shaken students staying locked in their dorms. The school calling it a day of tremendous sorrow.
Good morning, America. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday. We are starting off with the late-breaking developments involving yet another mass shooting in America, this time on a college campus.
Yeah, a gunman opening fire at Brown University in Rhode Island. At least 2 people killed, 9 others injured. And as you can see right there, Whit traveled to Providence overnight. He is on the scene right now. Whit, this is such a tragedy.
It really is. Gio and Janae, good morning to you both. It's a snowy, painful day here in Providence. You can still see the large police presence behind me, a number of streets blocked off. But major developments in the past few hours. The shelter in place has now been lifted after a person of interest was taken into custody. The shooting happening inside a classroom at the Barris and Hawley building, which houses the school's engineering and physics departments. We have team coverage on this story, from the investigation to the threat environment to the police response. Here's what we know so far.
This morning, the urgent manhunt around Brown University now over.
I want to offer my profound thanks to all the hardworking men and women in law enforcement who worked through the night to be able to get us to this point where we can confirm that there is a person of interest who has been detained.
Police believe they have a person of interest in custody who opened fire on the Ivy League campus as students were taking final exams.
The state of Rhode Island is in shock.
In front of the Sciences Library on the Manning Walk for a male shot in the back.
The first calls of an active shooter reported just after 4 p.m. Saturday. Police say a gunman entering the Barris and Hawley engineering building, opening fire in a classroom on the first floor. The doors of the building unlocked because of finals, giving the suspect access. Terrified students receiving cell phone alerts, telling them to lock doors, silence phones, stay hidden. Some ducking for cover as gunfire rang out, barricading themselves inside classrooms using any furniture they could find to block the doors.
Everyone that was in Barris and Hawley, everyone that's had to spend their nights in the Sciences Library barricaded. I don't think we've felt that fear ever. I just could not think that it would happen at Brown.
At least 2 people killed, 9 others injured, some rushed to the hospital in critical but stable condition, all of them students. Police swarming the scene, immediately entering the building, but they say the suspect exited the side of the complex before they arrived and fled on foot. Overnight, investigators releasing these images of a person of interest, a man wearing dark clothing, maybe a mask, calmly walking the streets of Providence after police say he had just left the building. Police establishing a perimeter around campus. Students locked down inside, eventually evacuated, escorted by officials to buses, taken to a reunification center outside the area late at night.
I just kind of felt the same cycle of emotions I felt when I was 12 in Parkland, like just the numbness.
Zoe Weisman survived the school shooting in Parkland nearly 8 years ago. Now, as a sophomore at Brown, she's lived through yet another.
Right now, I'm just very angry. I think I'm angry that I've had to go through this more than once, that now my classmates and my friends also have this experience in common with me.
President Trump monitoring the situation from the White House, speaking to reporters overnight.
I've been fully briefed on the Brown University situation, what a terrible thing it is. And all we can do right now is pray for the victims and for those that were very badly hurt, it looks like. And we'll inform you later as to what's happening, but it's a shame. It's a shame. Just pray.
More than 400 law enforcement officers, including the FBI, ATF, state and local police, assisting with the investigation as they search for a motive. Authorities so far not sharing any details about the alleged weapon.
It's all hands on deck. We're picking up on any leads, any tips that come our way, and that's what we do. That's what this department has done for years. And so when some incidents or horrific incidents like this occur, we step up.
Now, Brown University says final exams have been canceled for the rest of the day. They're still not sure what the plan is for the rest of the week. They will let the students know. And the mayor telling the people of Providence that they can breathe a little easier now that that person of interest is in custody. Let's get more information on the victims now and go to Morgan Norwood, who's at Rhode Island Hospital with the latest there. Morgan, I understand you're getting new information.
We are. Good morning to you, Whit. And you're right. This is Rhode Island Hospital, the state's only level 1 trauma center, certainly equipped to handle these types of mass casualty incidents. This is the epicenter of that massive medical response. But for so many families, it is also the center of grief and heartbreak, but also hope as they gain some updates from officials just moments ago. Doctors, we know, are treating 8 victims, all students, 7 now in stable condition. 1 does remain in critical condition. The good news this morning is that no one's status was downgraded overnight, which should, of course, come as relief to loved ones who have gathered here bedside. Authorities say a 9th victim did show up to the hospital hours after that shooting with a bullet fragment injury, but was treated and immediately released. But there are the invisible injuries. Support services, mental health services, we know, have been activated, and the Nonviolence Institute is on site over at the university to support those impacted. The hospital says it continues to work not only with Brown University, but with law enforcement as they continue this investigation. Janae?
So glad that those 9 others were able to be stabilized. Morgan, thank you. Now let's bring in ABC News Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas to give us some context on these type of mass shootings. Pierre, I am struck by Zoe Weissman, who Whit introduced us to, who lived through the Parkland shooting in 2018, now a sophomore at Brown, because we see these shootings too often.
Indeed, the nightmare unfolding at Brown University comes amid an ever-intensifying threat environment where law enforcement throughout the nation are being warned by FBI and Homeland Security officials that the holidays are a time when they should be especially on guard. In fact, a joint intelligence bulletin issued on November 26 flatly states right now there is a heightened threat of violence from a variety of potential assailants, including so-called lone wolves, throughout the winter holidays. We're seeing a disturbing pattern that has recently been playing out. On New Year's Day, we had a terror attack in New Orleans that killed 14 people and injured dozens more. That bulletin also points out that the FBI believes it stopped an ISIS-inspired terror plot that the Bureau believed was set for Halloween in Michigan a few weeks ago. And that's the day before Thanksgiving, another attack in Washington, D.C. So law enforcement has their work cut out for them.
Yeah, a terrifying threat environment. Pierre Thomas, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and bring in ABC News Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky, who's right here. Even as we're on the air, you're texting with your sources. You have some new information now.
The person of interest who was taken into custody in connection with the shooting at Brown University was caught at a local hotel in Coventry, Rhode Island, taken into custody at about 3:45 this morning, Gio. Found in possession, law enforcement sources told ABC News, of 2 guns. The types of weapons have not been specified, but the individual, we're told, had 2 guns in his possession when he was caught at a local hotel in Coventry, Rhode Island. Coventry police, along with the FBI, were the ones to take him into custody. Now the authorities with the Rhode Island State Police are working with the local prosecutors to determine what charges this individual will face. The individual has not been publicly identified, but we're told the authorities do have his name. They are working to run down background. They are also working to determine what connection, if any, the individual has to Brown University. He's not believed to be a current student at Brown University, but we know that sometimes there will be a connection to campuses. Mindful, this is 13 years today since the Newtown Elementary School shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School. The individual responsible there had a connection to the school. The authorities are trying to run down whether this individual now in custody had any connection to Brown.
Such a reminder, again, of another mass shooting that we have witnessed in this country 13 years later. But Aaron, that new information that you just shared with us, very important. Thank you. That suspect captured at a hotel, you said, with 2 weapons on it.
A local hotel, 2 weapons, about 3:45 this morning. So they put the video out that Whit showed us of that individual dressed all in black, rounding the corner, leaving the engineering building, and just a few hours later, a tip leads to someone now in custody.
Just a short time later, still so many questions as the investigation continues. Aaron, thank you for that. And we want to bring Whit back in because we know a lot is still developing, and you'll be back with another interview in our next half hour, Whit.
Yeah, Janae, that's right. We've heard some harrowing stories from students who were in that building when shots rang out. I spoke with one student a short time ago who was there and said he heard the shots right behind him, ran with hundreds of students out just a couple of exits. He describes the chaos and then what happened next when he had to go into lockdown in a bathroom for hours. We'll have that story coming up in our next half hour. Guys.
All right, Whit, we will check back in very, very soon. And we are going to turn now to more breaking news overnight. And unfortunately, it's yet another mass shooting. At least 12 people killed, reportedly killed, including the gunman in a shooting at Australia's famous Bondi Beach while an event to celebrate the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah was taking place. ABC's Marcus Moore joins us now with the details on this. Marcus, good morning.
Gio, good morning. Australia's Prime Minister has called this incident shocking and distressing. Authorities now saying that this was a terror attack targeted directly at the Jewish community. We want to warn you that some of the video images are upsetting. Authorities have just confirmed that at least 11 people have been killed and 29 injured after two gunmen shot into a crowd of people at the world-famous Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. Eyewitnesses have told our Brit Clinic that the shooting happened as many people there gathered to celebrate the first day of Hanukkah. Now, videos show hundreds of people running for cover as the shots ring out. It happened around 6:45 in the evening in Sydney, and early estimates are that about 1,000 people were on the beach at the time. Now, I want to show you this one piece of video. It is the moment a bystander confronts one of the gunmen, wrestling the long gun away from him. The suspect then falls to the ground. Police say one shooter was killed, the other taken into custody. Investigators found a vehicle nearby containing what authorities believe are several improvised explosive devices. And Janae, as you can imagine, there has been a massive emergency response at the scene. Authorities there have not identified the gunman, but they are looking into the possibility that a third person may have been involved. So there is much more to come as we learn more about this horrific incident in Australia. Janae.
Horrific, the number of people killed, Marcus, but in a place where you don't expect there to be guns because, unfortunately, like America, they are not used to seeing this. Marcus, thank you for your reporting. Back here at home now to Washington as President Trump threatens retaliation after the deaths of 3 Americans and what the U.S. says was an ISIS attack in Syria. ABC News' senior White House correspondent Selena Wang has more.
This morning, the fallout from the killing of 3 Americans in central Syria. 2 U.S. soldiers and 1 U.S. civilian interpreter ambushed on Saturday by a lone ISIS gunman while supporting counterterrorism operations against the Islamic State. 3 American service members also wounded in the attack.
Mourn the loss of 3 great patriots in Syria. You know how it happened. There was an ambush, terrible. We also have 3 wounded. They seem to be doing pretty well.
Will the U.S. retaliate against ISIS?
Yeah, we will.
Secretary Hegseth posting, the savage who perpetrated this attack was killed by partner forces. Let it be known, if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you will spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you. Trump said this ISIS attack was carried out in a very dangerous part of Syria that is not fully controlled by them.
The new president of Syria is, as they told me, and I was not surprised, he's devastated by what happened. This was an ISIS attack on us and Syria.
Just last month, Trump met with Syria's new president, the first Syrian head of state to ever visit the White House. Relations warming after the fall of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. The U.S. officially recognizing Syria's new government as a partner in the fight against ISIS.
Despite the fall of the Assad regime and new leadership in place that cooperates with the United States on counterterrorism, the country remains unstable and a very dangerous place.
All right, Selena Wang, thank you for that report.
Well, the Powerball jackpot, it just keeps on growing. Now $1.1 billion after another night without a winner. It has been 42 drawings, 14 weeks since someone picked those lucky numbers. The $1 billion prize also surges to a new milestone. It's now the 6th largest Powerball jackpot on the books. The next drawing for that $1.1 billion prize is tomorrow night. The winner can take home a cash option of $503 million.
Well, and yesterday you said that inflation even appears to be hitting the
Yes,
lottery.
the lottery,
exactly.
exactly.
Growing.
1.1 billion.
Ooh, all right. All right, still here ahead on Good Morning America. Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City are looking to snap their 2-game skid and keep playoff hopes alive in a battle against the Chargers. ESPN's Herm Edwards joins us to break it all down. And welcome back to Good Morning America. We just heard from authorities who announced that a person of interest is now in custody.
And we're now learning how this manhunt unfolded overnight. So let's turn back to Whit Johnson, who is in Providence at Brown University with the very latest. Whit.
Yeah, Janae and Gio, a lot has happened in the last few hours here, but we heard the mayor there, Mayor Smiley, telling that the people of Providence can breathe a sigh of relief now that a person of interest is in custody. If you'll remember, this was a very, very long night here. People were told to shelter in place, lock their doors, stay inside, silence their phones, and people all around the campus, not just on campus, but the neighborhoods surrounding Brown University, people had to essentially lock inside and wait for news on when they can come out. So this is a sigh of relief, but no doubt a painful, tragic day here around the university. We did get an update. We know that 2 of the people killed, they were students here at the university. Also 9 injuries, 7 people still at the hospital in stable condition. 1 person in critical, and another one was discharged from the hospital. We're also getting more information about this person of interest who was taken into custody. A law enforcement source telling ABC News that that arrest was based on a tip that came into law enforcement. We know that that person is not believed to be a student here at the university, but still major questions about motive, what brought him here, the weapon that was used, and investigators are looking into all of that right now. We also understand that the shooting itself happened just after 4 p.m. There were finals happening in that building, and students were in a classroom in a study session when the gunman walked in and opened fire. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Ref Bari, who is a student here at the university. And Ref, I understand that you were in the building or nearby as you heard the shots ring out.
Yeah, the shots rang out behind me. So I was in Barrison Hawley, the physics and engineering building, and yeah, it happened all behind me.
And what did you hear, what did you see, and what was going through your mind at the time?
Yeah, so what happened is I had just had a meeting with my satellite team, the T-Rex team, and I was heading down. So we have a physics office on the first floor of Barrison Hawley. So I left the first floor office, and there's a step of stairs that connects the old part of Barrison Hawley to the new part. The old part is the physics part, the new part is the engineering part. So I'm walking down these steps of stairs. I'm about to head to the diner, this diner, the Ratty. And when I'm on the second or third step of the staircase, I hear this pop, 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 like punctuated, like pop sounds, like 6 or 7 of them ring out behind me. And I've never heard anything like that in my life. So the first.
Did you instantly know that it was gunfire, or you thought maybe it was something else?
No, I thought, okay, you have no idea that, this thing is real in the moment, right? There's no kind of fact check in real life. I glanced behind me very quickly, and the lobby of Barrison Hawley was empty, or so it seemed. So I thought, okay, maybe I'm tripping. In front of me, the ERC, the commons area of Barrison Hawley is full with about 100 students. Everyone is prepping for final exams, final projects. So I'm thinking in that split second, okay, maybe I misheard something. And then it just rings out like pop, pop, pop again. And then I don't look back. I just run as fast as I can. And in the moment when I start to run, people in the lobby, people in the common area, at first, people start taking off their headphones. People are initially confused. At the moment I start running, there's 5 or 6 others running at the same time. And then there's just massive, nobody says anything. There's no
Was it
kind
a
of
chaotic scene, people rushing to the doors? Describe what that was like.
So-
We're looking at some video right here of people who are hunkering down in the classrooms.
Yeah.
Describe those moments.
So the ERC, the Commons area, Barris and Holly, has 2 exits. So imagine 100 kids trying to rush out through 2 exits.
Wow.
There's not a single word. Nobody is saying anything. It's just silence and gunshots behind us. And so I run out through the left exit, and everyone is just running behind. It's like insane. It's like out of a movie scene, yeah.
And then you get out of the building, and then what? You start getting the alerts from authorities that you need to shelter in place. What did you do?
Yeah, so actually the alerts came a while after. So the gunshots, you understand, were happening in the moment. So there was not even any time for the alert to happen. And so I ran as fast as I could from Barris and Holly to the opposite side of the street. And I called my parents while I was running. I was running to my apartment, which is on Thayer Street, and but my brain was just like blank. I was just running. It was like.
Did you see anybody get hurt, injured, or law enforcement during that run as you were trying to get away?
No law enforcement. The event was happening in that
real
moment.
time.
In that moment, and I just heard students behind me running. But the weird thing is that so I ran from Barris and Holly to the other side of the street, and on the other side of the street is the science library. And folks coming out of the science library had no idea what was going on. So as I was running, I started shouting, "Active shooter," like run. And there were 2 kids who were at first confused, and then when they saw me run, they started to run the other way. But people on near Starbucks, so on the other side of the science library, like where I was running on Thayer Street, everyone was just normal. Nobody knows what's going on.
Forgive me, we're running out of time here, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to ask you, eventually you started sheltering in place.
Yeah.
How long were you on lockdown? And what was that like?
So I actually, I was kindly taken in by a friend, Allie. We hid in her bathroom for 2 hours. 4 of us in like a small bathroom for 2 hours. And it was terrifying, but thanks to her, I think thanks to her, I'm alive right now. So yeah.
Well, Ref,
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking the
Yeah.
time this morning. We're glad you're
Thank you.
okay, and of course our thoughts with you and the entire community.
Yeah, thank you,
We
Whit.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right. We're going to go ahead and send it over to Morgan Norwood. Morgan, I know in the latest police presser we got new information about some of the victims. You're outside the hospital. What more are you learning?
Hi, good morning to you, Whit. Yes, we still have 8 victims still recovering here at the hospital. Doctors treating them overnight. 7 now in stable condition. 1 remains in critical. But the good news, Whit, is that no one's status was downgraded overnight. So that should be a relief to so many families who are gathered here bedside. We do know authorities say a 9th victim showed up yesterday, shortly after that shooting, hours after that shooting, with a bullet fragment injury. That was the person who was treated and released overnight. This morning, we know that the hospital is still on lockdown as they continue to treat those patients. Janae?
Thank you so much, Morgan Norwood there. Now let's bring in ABC News Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas to give us some context on these types of mass shootings that we see too often. Pierre, good morning to you.
Janae, good morning. The nightmare unfolding at Brown University comes amid an ever-intensifying threat environment where law enforcement throughout the nation are being warned by the FBI and Homeland Security officials that the holidays are a time when they should be especially on guard. In fact, a joint intelligence bulletin issued on November 26 flatly states right now there is a heightened threat of violence from a variety of potential assailants, including so-called lone wolves, throughout the winter holidays. We're seeing a disturbing pattern that has recently played out. On New Year's Day, we had a terror attack in New Orleans that killed 14 people and injured dozens more. That bulletin also points out that the FBI believes it stopped an ISIS-inspired terror plot that the Bureau believed was set for Halloween in Michigan a few weeks ago. And on the day before Thanksgiving, a man traveled across the country from Washington State to attack those 2 National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C., critically injuring one and killing the other. So even though gun violence and mass shootings have declined significantly this year, continuing what we saw in 2024, we have a threat environment that's perhaps just as challenging as right before the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah,
Gio.
a terrifying threat environment indeed. Pierre Thomas, thank you so much. And there are fast-moving developments in all of this. Let's go ahead and bring in Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky. You've been following all of these details. You've been talking to your sources overnight. What are you learning, Aaron?
We're learning that it was a heads-up tip from a member of the public that led to the detention of what authorities are calling a person of interest, Gio, but they said they are not looking for anyone else. So the manhunt is over, the lockdown has been lifted, and the authorities are now trying to determine what charges this individual is going to face over the shooting death of 2 individuals at Brown University and the injuring of 9. You see the image there on the screen. That was the only video that the authorities were able to release, but that may have been enough. This shooting occurred in a lecture hall where a small group was studying for finals. The hope was always that someone in that group may have been able to provide a better description for police. And it's these kinds of images, guys, that have proved to be so helpful. We'll see ultimately what the tip was and what bore out. But remember, Luigi Mangione, the suspected shooter of Brian Thompson, the suspected shooter of Charlie Kirk, all caught because of a tip. Law enforcement officials know that imagery is increasingly important to help solve these things, guys.
Yeah, those incredible images, but incredible also that we don't actually see a face, and still someone was able to be taken into custody. Whit Johnson is there on the scene as well, Whit.
Yeah, Gio and Janae, I think some of the big questions here is what happens next. We know that the shelter in place has been lifted, but you can see this huge police presence behind me, hundreds of officers, federal, state, and local, all part of this. Brown University officials tell us that final exams have been canceled for today, but they haven't figured out yet what's going to happen later in the week. You can imagine just how rattled the students are here. We even heard from one student who survived the Parkland shooting nearly 8 years ago, and then experience this one. So 2 mass shootings before she even graduated college. So this community absolutely on edge. This was supposed to be a joyful time with final exams and the holidays approaching, and instead another community in America rattled by senseless violence, guys.
And Whit, it speaks to exactly what the mayor of Providence was saying during that press conference earlier this morning, that they have trained for this, that there are a generation of American students who also train for these kind of events in schools, and they shouldn't have to, but here we are.
All right, we are back now on GMA with a 2025 Rewind. The movies and TV shows that entertainment that just got us talking here and singing. ABC's Will Gans is here with more on this. Good morning, Will.
Good morning to you two. Good morning to all of you. 2025 got off to a great start with Keke Palmer and SZA in One of Them Days, releasing back in January. But a lot like that movie, this year took some crazy twists and turns at the box office, leading all the way up to some real highs like this weekend's release, Wake Up Dead Man. And some real lows. Looking at you, Megan 2.0. So quiet on set, everyone. Lights, camera, action.
When it comes to film and television, 2025 was, well, a history-making year at the box office. Zootopia 2 becoming the fastest PG-rated film to cross the $1 billion mark globally.
You twins? Nah, we cousins.
And Sinners, starring 2 Michael B. Jordans, became the highest-grossing original horror film in U.S. history. And it was an out-of-this-world year for Blue Aliens, Green Witches, and Chicken Jockeys. But for every hot, there were a few nots. In fact, this year saw the worst October at the box office since 1997.
Protect your sister. Yes, sir.
But there are still some cinema supernovas dropping before 2026. And on the small screen,
we're a normal family. You'll see.
We were torn. Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah.
This is the way it's supposed to be.
Team Alex or Team Robert. But laughter united us all, whether it was the studio or Abbott Elementary.
You know, guys, I still think it's gonna be a great year.
And as Netflix counts down to the finale of Stranger Things, which earned the streamer its biggest English language TV debut ever,
Welcome to the Eras Tour.
Taylor Swift has fans doing a countdown of their own, with the End of an Era docuseries hitting all the right notes on Disney+.
And there are no signs of slowing down there on the small screen. 2 more episodes of Taylor's docuseries drop on Friday, plus Emily in Paris this week, Stranger Things finale on New Year's Eve, and The Pit comes back on January 8th, so full steam ahead.
What was your favorite of the season?
Watching that back, so seeing Sinners in theaters, because I'm not a big movie buff, but Sinners I loved, and White Lotus. Oh boy,
it was White Lotus.
Yes.
For me, it's Stranger Things.
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. I mean, I honestly think it's the best TV show ever. Maybe.
Oh
said
man,
the same thing.
I know.
Piper now.
Piper now. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Thank you, Will.
We've been covering a lot of tough news this morning, but there is more news to get to, and we do want to get to the NFL. It is week 15 in the NFL, critical games as we head toward the playoff. Lots of people will be watching these today. So we want to get to ESPN football analyst and our friend Herm Edwards. Thank you, Herm, for being with us. We wanted to squeeze this in. What do we need to watch out for today?
Well, obviously you got to watch the Rams and the Lions. This is Matthew Stafford playing his former team. This is a hot team when you think about the Rams, and the Lions are playing well. And so this is a game that the running game of the Lions are going to be very important. And the passing game of Matthew Stafford is very important. He's got 35 touchdowns. He's an MVP candidate. That's one of the guys he goes to, Puka and Adams. So this is a big game for both these teams. We're coming down the final stretch. And I think the next game you really want to kind of put your eye on is the New England Patriots, believe it or not, the 11-2 Patriots, that's right, against the Buffalo Bills' Josh Allen. This is a big game. When you think about the Buffalo Bills, they lost to the Patriots one time already. Josh Allen is a major force. He's another MVP candidate. So they're going to have to try to run the ball against the New England Patriots if they're going to try to win this football game.
Coach, we appreciate you so much for being with us. A lot to watch for in the NFL today. Coach, we got to ask you, who's with Herm? Who is your pick for Monday Night Football?
Well, who do we got?
We got the Dolphins and the Steelers.
Yeah, who do you want?
No. This
there
is
you go.
who's with Herm.
Who's with Herm?
I'm going to take the Steelers. I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers.
You know,
they need to win this game.
I'm
they
a
need
Miami
to stay
boy.
in first place.
I'm a Miami boy. You know that, so I got to go with the Dolphins.
Look at you. You see, Herm, he's trying to go against you because Whit did last week, and it worked out for him.
Do you know where this game's at?
Where? Oh, if it's in Pittsburgh, Miami has no chance.
Miami got no shot.
No shot. I'm with Herm.
I'll go with the Steelers. All right, thank you, Herm. We appreciate you
so
my friend.
much.
Thank you. And of course, stay with ABC News. Whit Johnson, of course, is on the scene. We'll have much more on ABC World News tonight and, of course, on abcnews.com and ABC News Live.
Thank you for starting your day with us. We'll have more of those updates throughout the day. Have a good one.
Have a good one.